Okay, so everybody downloaded Buford Puppet.zip? No. Okay. All right, good. Some of y'all said when you opened up After Effects, it didn't work. I think one of y'all did. So that's how it all started. Okay. What was your first question? All right, so essentially what we have here is we have a couple compositions in here. We double click the Buford walking here, and then if you just hit the space bar, this is kind of what we have here, or what we'll be trying to work on. This is a couple things. We're going to work in this in sections. So first we're going to work on this character, which his name is Buford. So we're going to first work on him, and we're going to move him. We're going to move parts of him. And we're going to work on him independently. And then when we're done working on him, we're going to move him to another composition. So it's kind of like making pre-comps, right? And so when we move him to the composition, we are going to then put him into this one. Well, once we work on him, we're going to put him into this other composition. And then we're just going to move him across the screen. We're going to put a background in it and then move that across. Devin, I'm recording this, by the way, so you don't have to. Okay. So this is the one we're working on right here. So essentially, this is the first piece of the puzzle we're going to work on. We're going to just kind of move pieces of him. And the feature we're going to use here is the Puppet Warp tool. And if you notice, in here, when you import something, especially something with layers in it, it imports all the layers. Now, what I want you to do, I'm showing you the pieces, but we're going to do this all from scratch. Okay? So go back. What I want you to do is go back to this folder here, because we all downloaded this file folder. All right? I want you to drill down on footage, drill down on the AE Puppet layers, and if you don't mind, open up Buford PSD. And if you open that up, it's going to open up in Illustrator. No. Photoshop. Thank you. I was seeing if you're listening. Yeah. So if you did that, then yes, that one is not working. So what we're going to do here is look at the layers, and that's all you're really here to notice, is that this is Photoshop, and each of the layers is that. So click the little eye and just check out how each of the layers are separated. Okay? This is easy. You can do this with another character. You know, you can kind of make your own. I'm just showing you the parts, the pieces of the puzzle. Okay? So you have this Photoshop file. All right, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to go back into this document and actually let's double click into our project panel as if to say we are going to import something. And let's go ahead and find that folder. And I actually have mine right here. We're looking for the Photoshop file. You're looking for the Buford PSD. When you double click on it, just stop right there. When you double click on that PSD, I'm going to wait for everybody. Just let me know when y'all are good. What you're going to do is you're going to want to import this as a composition. Okay, not as a footage, but as a composition. I usually do merge layer styles into footage. Who is behind? Who needs help? Why don't you have the file? Okay. Like where y'all at right now? All right. Okay. Main. Okay, y'all please try to, catch up. All right, so when you get to this point, you're going to import as a composition. You're going to merge layer styles into footage, and you're going to hit OK. All right. So we have imported this one right here. So we should have this number 2. That's what we just imported. At least I think. No, we did not. Or did we? No, that's the one that moves. Oh shit, they both move. Thank you. Yes, I didn't double click on it. Thank you. All right, so yes, if you double click on that composition, AE Puppet 2, that's the one we just imported. We do notice, yes, it does not move. Okay, so that's it imported. But look how clean, like After Effects organized everything for us. It did everything as a layer, just as Photoshop had. So Photoshop very nicely put every layer as a layer in After Effects. We can even go in just as Photoshop. Hit the eye, like check out that each layer is separated just like Photoshop. It is a true transparency. We can check that out if we wanted to. Okay? All right. So if we kind of this is the timeline that we're in. We have a 6-second timeline. So anywhere along this timeline, we can kind of make some motions. So really the question is, what do I want to do within this time? That is the question, right? So, okay, so the way we first start doing some motion is it all starts when you start doing puppet manipulation. It all starts up here with this little pin icon, the puppet pin tool. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I guess so. All right, so what we need to do is go to the pin. So click on the pin, and what you do is you need to go to, we need to decide what's the first thing we're going to start to animate. And maybe we can start with this arm right here. So that is, we'll find this by clicking the eye. Okay, so that's the left arm. And I know that seems weird because we're facing him and that's on the right side, but to him, that's his left arm. All right. So this is his left arm. So we're going to do pins in a couple of areas. And when you start to pin, you need to think about the areas to where things are jointed, obviously. So obviously, you know, we need a shoulder. That's an anchor. We need maybe a, you know, the elbow, and then, you know, the wrist or the hand. You know, that could be, so we need a series of maybe that. So there'll be one right there. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see what's going on. There'll be one right there, maybe one right here, and maybe one right there. So I used the pin, and I just pinned in 3 spots. Now, when you do that, you'll notice there'll be this triangular grid that's kind of webbed over the graphic. Okay? Now, if you don't see that, go up here, and there's a little mesh. Might say show. Now you see it? Good. Or unshow. But that's how I like to see the mesh, just so I can see, you know, how much detail it's putting into the graphic. Okay? Now, let's not start dragging and moving yet. We're just establishing pins. That's kind of the same as establishing keyframes. We've just established some keyframes. Now let's move our time indicator forward a little bit. Now let's drag one of those dots and let's move it. Okay? See, now we're starting to kind of animate. Okay? And then maybe I can like click and drag the elbow a little bit. Move the time indicator to like maybe a 1 second. Remember, we're moving a long time. Uh-oh, if I move it up too far, his hand is behind his head. Well, gee, how do we fix that? That's a layer order, right? So I need to bring his left arm up above his head, right? Like that. Yeah, I'm just clicking and dragging the yellow circle. Now I need to move his mouth below left arm. So his left arm should be the highermost layer. He also has a left sleeve that actually is above his left arm. Put that above his left arm. So left sleeve is above his left arm. So if I kind of like scrub that back, I kind of see how that works. If you use your arrow and you click back on, no, I'm sorry, not the arrow, the pen tool. If you click back on the pen tool and you select the left arm, you have to get back on one of those dots. So hang on. I'm going to hit U. there. All right. So if you select the left arm and you hit the letter U, because that shows all the anchors, I'm missing terminology here. The keyframes. That shows all your keyframes. And then if you go in and you select puppet pin, one of those puppet pins, that dot is going to appear. So with that, you can go in and select any dot, and you can actually hit delete, or you can actually, well, you can't really move it because it will actually move the object. But you can, you know, yeah, you can delete it and maybe re-add another one. Yeah, that was horrible. So stretching his arm out. Yeah, I'm gonna undo that. All right, so this is like point animation. So we can adjust points as we move our time indicator. So if I want to move this back down, you know, I kind of move, you know, his elbow out a little bit. Let me purge. Okay. I need some pause. I need this. Yep. Yeah, I'm actually gonna move forward a little bit. I'm actually gonna bring it back up. So I want it to stay up there a little bit, and then maybe move it a little bit more, like that. So it'll be, you know, and then maybe move it over here. And again, you can take all these keyframes, and then you see how I drug and I selected all of them, and now I'm going to hold Option, and I'm going to click the last one, and click and hold. I can actually drag out all that. So it's really going to like kind of spread that time out. So it actually makes that whole situation happen a little bit slower. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, you know? I mean, what is he doing, Aspen? What is he doing? Maybe I'll put that in my next character. Yeah. He's like vaping or something. I don't know. No, Buford would not vape. No. No, you're right. You have a cigar or something. All right, so we've taken care of one arm. Now we need to take care of maybe the other arm. So if we're done with that arm, we can actually minimize that layer because we're actually done with that arm. Let's go to the next one. The right arm. So that one, we go back, we put our time indicator back to 0. We use the pin, kind of do the same thing. We're going to, let me zoom in a little bit. We're going to pin at the shoulder, pin at somewhere around the elbow, and then maybe pin like somewhere in the middle of that can, like that. I'm going to just test drag out to see how that looks. It's okay, you know. See how this one looks from the elbow. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, fancy. Yeah. So if I did something like that, is that kind of believable? Maybe. I'm thinking about repositioning this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that one. I'm going to hit delete because I want to put that one maybe back here, maybe more close to his thumb, so he can do, yeah, that looks a little bit more in control, so it doesn't warp the can as much. So if I did something like that, it's a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna undo those motions because I want to start back at his resting position. Okay, so that's at 0. So I'm going to move forward a little bit. Maybe he's like about to start scratching his chin, and then I start moving this forward. I'm going to move his elbow forward, but I'm also going to move like his holding hand forward a little bit. Move his shoulder a little bit down. So, so it just slowly goes out. All right, so let's see. I'm just going to move these over. I want that motion to start until about there. Remember how you can move keyframes around to control when things start. Yeah. You got to be on the keyframe. So click that layer and hit U. You have to be able to see the keyframes. You're not seeing the diamonds. I guess you're looking at dots. I guess that's the difference. So I'm pull this out one even further. Yep. And then maybe a little motion of him, like maybe tilting forward a little bit. And then a little motion of him tilting back a little bit. And then the whole thing can just come back in. Now here's the cool thing. I know that this set of keyframes is its resting position. I can select those keyframes because I know that's the resting position. I can do Command C, move my time indicator right there, and then Command V. It's moved back in spot, back in the place it needs to go. So don't forget about copying keyframes and pasting them just to be more efficient. Select that layer, hit U. You have to be able to see. That's okay, yeah. I think what I'm doing is I'm bringing my little action here, his cheers action, a little bit closer together so it's a little bit quicker. Yeah. Yeah. You want that? No. By the way, he's drinking Arizona tea. I don't know what you're thinking he's drinking, but that's what he's drinking. You know, the big Arizona teas? I mean, that's what they look like. Yeah. The image is scratched off. It's an old image. Arizona tea. Yeah. It's the 99-cent version. You're right. Good job. All right, so okay, we got that. You ready for the legs? You hate leg day? Yeah, me too. All right. Do you even lift, bro? Yeah. All right. Legs. The legs are pretty interesting into that you don't have to overthink it. Just focus on. No. I mean, you can focus on the belly button, but. All right. Let's see how. All right, so I'm on the legs layer. Pin. Okay, so I'm going to pin up here. That's going to be the hips. Hip. We've got two hips. The convenient thing about this is I have the legs all in one layer. They're not separated like the arms. Which I guess you could have some convenience if you created a character and if you just focused on one leg and maybe duplicated that leg in some way, you know, to where, and if you kind of offset them so they're not kind of like looking the same but offset. That could be a strategy. Now in this situation, let me look at this. You see how there's triangles up here? We never really talked about that. Triangles is like the resolution to which things bend. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the hips. I'm going to do the knees. And then I'm going to put a pin where I guess the heel would be. Just straight where the heel would be, right there. All right, so I'm going to do some test bends. All right. Okay, just calm down. All right. Now, if I increase the number of triangles, look at that. Look how it changes the bend. It kind of added more, I guess, resolution to the bend. There's more angles to the bend, I guess you could say. So as I can play with that area of of more triangles or not, so if I had 100 triangles, you know, that angle of bend would kind of change. And I kind of actually, you know, so you have to kind of test to see, I guess, where the triangles are, just to kind of see whether they're in a decent spot or not. I don't know. It just depends. You know, kind of just depends on the graphic. This one, I'm kind of fine with 100. You know, this one looks okay with 100. Yes. Yeah, you don't want an overwhelming like mesh. Like because that's going to increase the render time. And it's just like why even why even do that? All right, so exactly. So punny. All right. So what I want to do is I want to kind of figure out. Oh wow, I'm having some disk issues here. All right, so I want to figure out the extreme in this situation. So if I was walking, you know, and I'm in this step like this. So this one is here, and this one's back here. So I'm like kind of in this step, okay? That's kind of what I want to express here. I know some of y'all back there did not see that. That's okay. I'm going to replicate that here. All right, so it's kind of in this step. So that's kind of the extreme of both, okay? One is extreme forward, one is extreme back. Okay, and that's where I'm actually going to start in this situation. I'm going to start in the extremes, okay? And then I'm going to start animating both. So I'm gonna kind of work in a maybe as a guide. I'm kind of going to use these 15th of a second, markers to kind of help me. So 15th of a second. Let's see, what is this leg going to do when it starts coming back? It's gonna step. Maybe the knee will kind of start to straighten out. This knee will start to come back. This foot will start to come back about right there. You start to get like this neutral stance, okay? Now we go to the 1 second mark, okay? This one starts to step forward a little bit. The knee starts to move. Now this leg starts to move a little bit forward. You notice this hip is going to start to tweak a little bit. We might have to change that. Yeah. And then you notice this foot is going to start to go extreme forward. So see, now we have the complete opposites, right? So now we just went from that to that. And that's what we're looking for. When we go from that to that, we have completed a full cycle. So guess what? That's kind of the hardest part. The hardest work is over. Yes, it's plus and minus. You hover over the timeline and you hit plus and you do minus. You're going to have to just figure something out. Yeah. It doesn't have to be exact, Bethany. So we're just going to have to, it's an art in this situation. All right, so when I get it to right here, the next one is going to be what? It's going to be going back to the neutral stance. Well, I already have that one. I already know what that one is. So I'm going to select my legs layer, and I'm going to hit U because I need to see those frames. Wow, look how many frames I got for that one. Got a lot of frames going here. Because that makes sense. So I have all these right here that are going to be copied and pasted right there. So now I'm starting to be efficient. Now I'm copying frames I've already established to be already used later on. See, that's probably where we should have maybe made some more keyframes. I'm actually going to we're going to actually finish this up. All right. So here's the tip. If you have it like this, if you've done it from extreme forward, full cycle to extreme right there, and then gone back to a neutral stance, guess what? The whole cycle restarts over again. Well, guess what? We don't have to keep doing that. Let's just go ahead and just copy all of those frames. Command C. Let's move to the next 15th second spot. Command V. There it is. Let's move to the next 15th second spot. Command V. You see what I'm doing here? Hopefully. Command V. All right? So at this point, if we did it right, it's going to look like he's kind of walking. Emphasis on the kinda. All right. So let's fix those hips. Exactly. Let's work on them hips. All right. So I'm going to, let's see. In that neutral point, I'm going to put a pin up in that top hip area to say, hey dude, I want you to stay there. Same with this one. I want you to stay there. Same with this one. I want you to stay there. I just did 3 pins up in the top. Aha. That seemed to keep things in place. you are literally pinning those things to say, don't move. That's awesome. All right. Um, hmm. Okay, now let's go to the head. Because if you're walking, your head has a little bit of motion, right? Otherwise, that's a little bit of reality, yeah. Okay, so let's select the head and let's hit the letter P for position. Okay, let's go ahead and click the stopwatch on P. Now, in those extreme situations, in these extreme areas, okay, where does my head go? Yes, it goes down, right? Okay. If I'm walking, if I go straight up, it goes up. So let's use that knowledge to what we know. Okay? So he's in an extreme stretch. So let's maybe at this 0 point, let's see, that's the first number is X, we need Y. Let's drop his head down a little bit. Don't worry about the mouth. Don't worry about the mouth. We're going to fix that later. Don't drop it down a lot, just a little bit. This isn't like a lot of motion. This is just subtle motion. Right. Okay? Now, let's move the indicator to his standing right there. You see where both his legs are straight? Let's move his head up a little bit. So there, that's where he's kind of straight up. Okay, now we've established those. We kind of don't need to do those unless we just want to manually kind of figure those out. There's his stretch position right there. See, that's an extreme right there. So we want to, it may not be exactly equal, but we're just kind of figuring that out. Let's see, this one's going to go up. And heck, just for the fact that it's almost like organic like this, might look a little better. The fact that we're doing it a little off-kiltered. All right, so right there would be the repeat. So I'm going to actually delete that one. I'm actually going to select these, copy, and then that's where I'm going to start pasting it. Paste, and then repeat right there. Paste. Paste. There we go. All right. Now, at what point do I want the mouth to stick to the head? About right there. Probably where he's standing up. I think where he's standing up, that's about the right position where the mouth should be. So I'm going to put the time indicator right there. And I'm going to link using the pick whip. I'm going to parent the mouth. Y'all remember how to do that. Drag the mouth pick whip to the head. As to say, I am linking the two together at that point. So now, if you play that, you get a subtle little bobbing head motion. But the mouth is stuck to the head, which is kind of what you need. All right. If the mouth is not sticking with the head, then maybe you didn't parent it. You did? Huh. I'll have to come check it. All right, just a precursor. We are doing this kind of for fun. We are learning something. This isn't like a grade thing. This is just an additional skill. Okay, you are going to take this and you're going to bring it into the Tiger video. This will help you. So don't, if you're behind or if you don't think that you're catching on, don't feel totally stressed out. This just may help you as an additional thing. I feel like if I don't show you how to use the Puppet Warp tool in After Effects, I'm not doing you a service, because that is a cool part of After Effects, is actually doing things like this. So once you have this, we need to get the we need to make the rest of the composition. I think at this point we're ready to put Buford in a setting. Yes. Yes. What time's class in? Okay. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is, let's see, composition settings. Okay, I did an NTSC D1 widescreen square pixel. All right, so y'all got that? All right, so next we are going to, no, I'm joking. All right, so next do a composition, new composition. This one right here. NTSC D1 widescreen square pixel. You got that? No, yes? Yes, no. No, yes, yes? Yes. All right. And then title it Buford Walking. And it will be a duration of 6 seconds, because that's Buford walking, okay? If you hadn't made 6 seconds right there. So we'll say okay, and then that's what we have, right? Good. Okay, does everybody have the image in there? If you have a black screen, that's fine, because that was the background color you chose. All right, so you're going to drag in this image, which is the image we have as the setting to which Buford will walk across. It's very large. How do we scale it down? S. We select the layer, we hit S, and we drag that number down a little bit. And then we kind of shift it and move it around. We obviously need some room to kind of horizontally move it. This is called parallax. When two planes shift in motion, that is parallax. I'm actually going to scale mine up just a hair, maybe to 50%. 50% looks good. You can have them walk along the sidewalk, the street. I don't, care. You can have them walk anywhere, upside down for all I care. All right, so we have this, and how are we going to have this move? We're going to have this move, yeah, from one to the other. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and select the layer. Let's hit P because we are animating the position. And then we're going to click the stopwatch. So we have it all the way on one side. Click the stopwatch. Move the timeline indicator all the way to the very end of 6 seconds. And then I'm going to actually just click and drag the image. I'm going to hold Shift because that's going to keep it on a level plane so it doesn't kind of move. And then I'm not really going to go all the way. I'll just kind of go that far. I'll check that out, see how that works. That's actually kind of fast, but I can make those subtle changes later on, but I'll just see how that works when I put Buford in. Slider won't move. Click and drag. You can't click and drag the image? You have it on 6 seconds. Is your composition on 6 seconds? Composition settings. Sure it's not 6 milliseconds. Okay. It's supposed to be 600. Okay, now we're ready to drag Buford, our AE puppet number 2. Make sure you grab number 2. That's the one you did. Just drag him somewhere in the scene. He's super huge, as you can see. This would be a great scene right here, just seeing his belly, like that. Like that's one shot we could do, Select Buford, hit S to scale him down. Nice. Yeah. What's funny is like just even like that, it's like it actually makes sense. The brain sees that as like, okay. It's like ice sidewalk.
He's walking out.
You might want to just trick the drum. I guess Thursday. I don't know. I guess so, yeah. All right, so if you get it to a certain point, you can actually move. You know, you can use the position on Buford. You can animate him going across a little bit. So, you know, just kind of have him moving like that. Yeah, like he's just kind of speeding up. You don't really have to. I mean, just him kind of like sitting in one place, having the scene kind of move along, kind of fits its situation. Again, you know, that kind of works itself. I like that. There's also the situation of like a shadow. You can kind of do a shadow if you do the ellipse tool. Actually, you need to add a solid first. Do a new solid. Black is good because that kind of reminds me of a shadow color. I don't know why. And then you kind of get the ellipse tool, draw an ellipse. Yeah, if it's a shadow, it kind of makes sense. You drill down on mask, and then you can feather it. Mess with the expansion, kind of go inward a little bit. Drop the opacity down a little bit. Again, you know, it doesn't have to be extreme, just subtle. kind of turn down the mask feather a little bit. Okay. And then, you know, the great thing is if it stays there, it could just stay there with them, you know, it's just kind of fitting with them. Let's see, the black sod would go underneath Buford. Nothing. He's not moving, so just put the shadow underneath them. They don't move, so that's it. If he was moving, you would just parent the shadow to him, which is so easy, you know. If he moves, nope, just parent. Parent is so easy. Yeah, for simple things like that, use parent.